Okay, good. Anyhow, I was talking about reference level to compare decrease or increase. Decrease in DRR, increase in ecosystem services. So in DRR, we had two reference levels, normal level or conservative level, okay? And the others benefit, in terms of benefit, we have one normal reference level for soil erosion and water yield. However, we do not have reference level for carbon sequestration because Korean forests were almost carbon neutral before forestation program. Okay, and then benefit of ecosystem services for each category was estimated as follows. DRR, reference level damage minus annual damage. The others, annual benefits minus reference level of benefit. This is the way we calculated the benefit. So depending on DRR and others, we calculated benefit like this. And then analysis on economic feasibility of the reforestation program. This is the main part. In general, we do cost-benefit analysis. Then here, we had two approaches. First one, BC analysis only including DRR. Second one is including DRR plus 3 other ecosystem services. Okay, so first case is BC analysis using only DRR. The minimum and maximum net present value were minus 2.44 billion US dollars in 1977 and 14.16 billion US dollars in 2010 with the normal reference disaster level. In previous slides, I showed 2 reference levels. One is normal, one is conservative. So depending on the reference level, BC analysis varies. So the figure shows net present value of forestation with the DRR. When we using normal reference level, it increases very sharply after 1982, something like that. However, when we use conservative reference disaster level, still it's minus. It's minus throughout the period. Okay? In other words, economically, no feasible. It means. So the NPV become positive from 1982 when we use normal reference disaster level. However, the NPV was negative with the conservative reference disaster level. However, when we include other benefits like water yield, soil erosion, and carbon sequestration, the maximum, minimum, and maximum NPV shown in minus 4.5 to minus 2.3 during 1977 to 1980 increased to 30.2 to 50 in 2010. Compared to the case of including only DRR, including all benefits make break-even points early or shorten. So I showed this figure in the previous slides. When we calculate NPV using only DRR, depending on reference level, one is positive, one is negative. However, if we include the other three benefits, regardless of reference level, both of them are positive. Are you following? Okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So both of them are positive after some years of reforestation. Then even the break-even point happens earlier with the normal reference disaster level, the blue line. If we use conservative reference disaster level, still it happens, but a little bit later. Okay? But both of them become positive, not like the previous one slides. Oops. Here. Okay? Do you follow me?
Yes.
This is very important point. So when you consider only DRR for BC ratio, economic feasibility won't be positive. But if you include other ecosystem services, surely BC ratio, in other words, economic feasibility will be definitely positive. Okay? So again, we are showing benefit cost analysis result. We call BCR, benefit cost ratio. BCR showed overall increase. You see the increasing trends ranging from minus 0.4 to minus 0.1 to 3.0 to 8.1. In other words, this BC ratio shows reforestation is cost effective. Again, in other words, even though you invest money for reforestation, the benefit will be higher than the investment for reforestation. Okay, this left hand figure shows BC ratio with only DRR. But if we include other benefits, the ratio is much higher. Okay, compared to the scale. Left hand, the scale is 4, BC ratio 4, but right hand side, the ratio is 9, more than double. Okay, BC ratio becomes much, much higher when you consider or include other benefit. So now conclusions, some lessons. Reforestation of Republic of Korea was economically valuable in terms of enhancing ecosystem services. We showed trends of DRR, trends of soil erosion control, water yield enhancement, and carbon sequestration. In other words, reforestation is a highly recommendable policy, even in economic aspect, not just in environmental aspect. We are showing reforestation is economically valuable. A certain level of investment after reforestation is constantly required for protection and management of forest. When you do reforestation, you need money, you invest money for planting. Even after planting, still, you need to invest money to protect trees, to management trees. So still, some level of investment is necessary. Okay? Intensive investment for short period would be effective. So active and intensive investment for short period would be more effective than long-term and loose investment. Okay, short-term intensive investment would be more effective. The benefits from reforestation started increasing after intensive investment under 10-year intensive reforestation program in Republic of Korea from 1970. Considered with annually occurring benefits throughout time passage, rapid and intensive reforestation seems highly beneficial in the long term. If you decide to do reforestation, rapid and intensive action would be highly beneficial in the long term. We have some limitations in the case study. In other words, we should see more social and environmental factors. Those factors should be considered. So monetary damage can be changed not only by reforestation, but also population density, urbanization, extreme climate events, so on. So there are other factors influencing economic feasibility of reforestation, even though we could not include all those factors. Second, setting reference levels are quite difficult. As the benefit of DRR and other functions highly varied with the reference level, we showed two reference levels. Therefore, setting the level should be examined in depth. Finally, unit cost and benefit of ecosystem functions should be examined in depth. We used single price for each ecosystem function, but those prices varies a lot. So we should consider various unit cost and benefit of ecosystem functions. A little bit technical limitation, but we should mention those limitations. So for the future, we need to investigate on this point more. Okay, that's the second presentation. Okay. So we have approximately 10 minutes before coffee break. So please give me comments or question if you have before coffee break. And after coffee break, I can take more questions or comments. But at this point, please go ahead for any kind of comments or question. Still, you are following?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much for another very comprehensive presentation. We have a question in the room, I think.
I'm sorry, but
Okay,
it's
yes.
hard to hear you. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So we have a question now, and again, the question will be asked in Russian, and then our translator will help us to translate for you.
Спасибо большое, профессор Сон, за содержательную презентацию. У меня 3 вопроса. Первый вопрос. Таджикистан в физико-географических, климатических условиях экологически отличается от Кореи. И насколько ваша методика адаптирована к горным условиям Таджикистана?
Thank you very much, Professor Sun. A very interesting question for a presentation. And I have 3 questions. First of all, the climate conditions of Tajikistan differs from the one in Korea. What do you think, to what extent your methodology would be feasible and applicable in Tajikistan?
That's a good question. Oh, please go ahead.
Второй вопрос по поводу подсчета поглощения углерода. Например, отличается ли подсчет углерода в естественных лесах и от искусственно посаженных? То есть какие методики используются? И третий вопрос связан с моделированием стихийных бедствий. Тут говорили о моделях SWOT Invest. Насколько они адаптированы к горным условиям Tajikistan?
The second question is related to the absorption of the carbon gas. What is the difference in the natural forest areas and in the artificially grown forest areas? And the third one is about the investment modeling. To what extent your investment modeling are tested in the field areas?
Okay. If I understand correctly, first question was about what kind of analysis would be useful in Tajikistan. Am I right? In terms of benefit cost analysis, I introduced DRR, in other words, forest fire, flooding, landslide, plus carbon sequestration, soil erosion, and water yield enhancement using different models. Then the question was what kind of component or model would be useful in Tajikistan. Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Okay, good question. Actually, it really depends on data. In other words, to run the model, we need data, actual data from Tajikistan. I showed the tables showing input data. If you have such input data, you can estimate benefit and cost as we did in Korea using the same model, such as INVEST model, max ENT model, SWOT model, so on. And finally, FBDC model. it really depending, it is depending on data availability. If you have high quality data, you can run those models. Those models are easily available. Of course, the final FBDC model was developed by myself, by our lab. So we can provide the model anytime if you want. However, key point is high quality input data. Data availability is the key issue. So when you see those list, next presentation, I will show detailed data set in this publication, policy brief. If you have all those data, I think you can do the same way as we did in Korea. That's the first answer. Second question was about carbon sequestration by artificial planting or natural forest. We used both forest. Okay, you can do calculation with both forest, artificial forest and natural forest. No problem to do that. And actually, I did not catch the third question. I'm sorry to ask, but would you repeat the final question?
Вы назвали модели, которые SWOT, Invest, насколько они адаптированы к горным условиям.
You have outlined about SWOT Invest modeling, to what extent they are applicable to the mountainous areas.
Sorry, would
you have outlined about the investing modeling. Investment modeling.
Mm-hmm.
The model of investing. Did you get me? Forecasting and other models.
As I said, we used the different models for different ecosystem services and disaster risk reduction. For example, for carbon sequestration, we used FBDC model. For water yield, we used the SWOT model, something like that, flooding SWOT model. Water yield, we used the INVEST model. So depending on the ecosystem service, you can choose different model. We tried several models and verified the results using the observed data, and finally decided to use specific model for specific ecosystem services or DRR. Is it okay? Still, the question was not clear to me. So,
yes,
Dr. Sarwat,
we are satisfied with your answers. Sorry, we are satisfied with your answers. Thank you very much.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Spasiba. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Professor San, did you want to ask me something? No.
Okay. I guess it's about time for coffee break again. So okay, if you like to have a coffee break, we can have a 10 minutes coffee break and return in 10 minutes and then continue for the final presentation and then questions and answers. Is it okay, or would you like to continue questions or comments?
Yeah, we agreed to have 10 minutes coffee break and then continue.
Okay, thank you. Then let's take a 10 minutes coffee break and return in 10 minutes. Thank you.
See you.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you have a good coffee break there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. I read one question from participants. What are the average annual fluctuations in weather condition and their impact on frequency of natural disasters? First question, nowadays we have very high fluctuation in weather condition. For example, this year we are still having very long monsoon. Typically, monsoon continues only 3 weeks, maximum 4 weeks. But now, this year, we have longer than 5 weeks, 6 weeks so far. So unusually long monsoon season this year. And also, we have a very high extreme temperature in summer and sudden heavy rain. So yes, we have a very high annual fluctuation in weather condition recently. And these highly variable weather condition influence disasters, specifically flooding, landslide. So this year, we are still having a lot of flooding occurrence throughout the country. So both of question, yes and yes. We have very high fluctuation in weather condition. These high variable weather condition influence disasters. Then final question was, what is the importance of forest cover in preventing them? My answer would be, even if you have a forest coverage, it's difficult to manipulate or control variable weather condition. However, as we talked during the second presentation, reforestation, in other words, increase in forest coverage would influence damage. In other words, decreasing damage by variable weather condition. So I would say, even though forest could not control variable weather condition, still forest would be useful to prevent damage or to decrease damage by highly variable weather condition. Is it okay to you?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Then can I start the final presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay, good. I will share the policy brief publication. Okay. Can you see the publication on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. I will move to the top of the publication. Again, this publication was produced by the UNDP Seoul Policy Center. It is about the valuation of reforestation in terms of risk reduction. But in content, not only disaster risk reduction, it included some other ecosystem services like soil erosion control, water yield enhancement, and carbon sequestration. Okay. It was published in 2017, 3 years ago. And again, Dr. Anil and contributors from UNDP SPC. Okay. In this publication, we have main reports and annexes. And this main report has executive summary and background, objective, history of reforestation, natural disaster history, modeling, BC analysis, some implications. In appendix, as I mentioned, we described model input data in detail, what kind of data are needed to run models, and specific models for landslide, forest fire, soil erosion, water yield, forest carbon. So for each benefit, we have different models. So you will see the specific model for specific benefit. And then appendices, we listed data, actual data. Okay, and I like to emphasize a few sentences in summary. Here, as you see, we report empirical cost and benefits of the National Reforestation Program over the last 50 years. Okay, the time period is 50 years. Evaluating the impact of DRR, landslide, forest fire, flooding, plus other benefits, carbon sequestration, soil erosion control, and water yield enhancement. And then final output is a net present value. In other words, NPV equals sum of benefit minus sum of cost. A very simple equation. We summed all benefit, we summed all cost, and then we subtract these benefits and this cost. Okay. And then we used different models, as I previously mentioned. For example, for estimating water yield, we used the invest water yield model. Okay, and at the appendix and main report, we specify the specific model. Okay. I'd like to emphasize major results after running models. Okay, here among the benefits, DRR was estimated using statistical data, and others were estimated by simulation models. And for DRR, our study shows that the change in forest area had no effect on reducing landslide risk, which was mainly influenced by annual precipitation, and its spatial distribution was affected by summer precipitation. Likewise, there was no apparent relationship between forest area and fire risk. However, anthropogenic factors were highly correlated with the occurrence of forest fires. Maybe it's the same in Tajikistan. Forest fires are occurring by humans. So anthropogenic factors are more important than natural factors like forest area. The overwhelming contribution of forestation in terms of DRR was found to be on the reduced damages from flooding. So if you have a good forest, damage by flooding will be sharply decreased. Okay. Regarding the soil erosion, the modeling showed that as forest area increased, soil erosion decreased. So soil erosion decreased after reforestation. Also, the invest water yield model showed some benefit from forestation in the forest water resource supply. If I understand correctly, water resource in Tajikistan is very, very important because it's a dry area. That then indicating, our study indicate that using this invest water model showed benefits from reforestation in terms of forest water supply. In other words, if you have a good forest, water resources supply will be increasing. Forest carbon sequestration also provide a highly beneficial contribution from the reforestation program. Okay, and we calculated NPV, net present value of reforestation program, simply calculating by summing annual present of value of the benefit minus those of the cost, and then applied 3% discount rate. Okay, and then also we converted present value in 2010 US dollars using PPP exchange ratio and CPI. That's the methodology I also explained previously. Here, I like to emphasize that this sentence, the result indicate that it takes time to get net benefit from initial investment, and that DRR alone may not have been enough to justify the reforestation program. The first sentence means it takes time to have net benefits from cost. You should wait few years to see the actual net benefit after reforestation. Later, I will tell you again, intensive, rapid investments would short the waiting period, okay? And DRR alone may not enough to justify the reforestation program. If we include other ecosystem services, reforestation is economically feasible, economically viable, not only with DRR. So if we include many ecosystem services, in this study, we only included extra 3 ecosystem services. If we add more ecosystem services like biodiversity, air purification, ecotourism, landscape, the benefit will increase more. Okay. Then next page. So if we include other benefits, brought the break-even point earlier. So if you calculate more ecosystem services, the break-even point will be sooner and sooner after reforestation. Do you follow me?
Yes, yes, we are following.
Okay, okay, good, good. And next, water yield enhancement and DRR accounted for 75 to 79% of benefit from the reforestation program to 2010. In other words, the benefits would have high proportion in water yield enhancement and DRR. So I again stress the benefits of water yield enhancement after reforestation in Korea, but it will be much higher in Tajikistan, in dry area. Again, in your country, water resources will be very, very important, and water yield enhancement proportion will be much higher after reforestation if you calculate the benefit of water yield enhancement. That's my guess, okay, my understanding. And the next sentence, an important point that deserves further research is the role of important socio-economic and environmental factors for disaster risk assessment. Again, many factors are influencing benefits after reforestation, especially socio-economic and other environmental factors are important for disaster risk assessment. So if you have more and more data on socio-economic aspect, the result, estimation result would be more accurate. Okay, that's what it says. Another point I like to emphasize is distribution of spatial variability. Here it says, risk assessment models can visualize spatial variability of disaster risk. In other words, even in a small country, disaster risk varies depending on location. So spatial variability of disaster risk varies a lot. If you have good spatial data, in other words, high resolution data, you will get more accurate, spatially estimated disaster risk. In other words, you can specify specific area for disaster risk after running the model. Again, it depends on your data quality. If you have high resolution data, you can specify the specific area to simulate the model. Okay, that's what it says. In terms of lessons learned, our results indicate that reforestation is economically variable. To invest budgetary resources for degraded lands if one takes a long-term view. Again, it takes time to see the net benefits after reforestation. Still, it is economically viable in long-term view. However, you should focus on the other point. Only planting trees cannot guarantee a successful reforestation. After reforestation, you should protect the forest or trees. You have to manage forest. As you see in the lessons from the case of ROK, paying fees to villagers to conduct reforestation activities and to protect their forest, eliminate the vicious cycle from illegal logging and slash and burn agriculture. In other words, again, after reforestation, still you need to invest money to protect the forest and to manage forest. However, if you do not have support from local villagers, it's impossible to protect forest, to manage forest. That's why I stressed many times the importance of a local community. So community-based forestry will be very useful. Okay, that's the point I like to stress in the summary. Okay, let's move to the background and rationale. So I explained most of the content in the previous presentation. And here we did DRR and other ecosystem services. So total 6 benefits to analyze benefit and cost. Here, I like to read this sentence. Such a study focusing on Republic of Korea can provide a useful reference point for other countries to validate the hidden long-term benefit or DRR by reforestation. Considering other benefits of reforestation, including carbon sequestration, water yield enhancement, and soil erosion control, need to be quantified. So actually we quantified and showed that reforestation would be useful for those ecosystem services. Especially, as you see here, these benefits have impact of people's lives and livelihood. Again, water yield enhancement is very, very important in dry area, people's lives and livelihood. Then these benefits will be increasing after reforestation. So objective, we did economic feasibility for DRR and other ecosystem services. This table 1 listed collectible data. For example, meteorology data, we need this kind of, we used this kind of data and time scale, spatial scale. As you see here, even in Korea, in 1960s, we have only daily data, but now we have hourly data. In old days, we have only 22 observations, but now we have more than 500 observations throughout the country. In old days, we have ASOS, but now we have AWS, automatic weather station. So the quality of data increased from 1960 to year 2000s. So as we have high quality data, the result would be more accurate. Topography, digital map, okay, and forestation, forest activity data, monetary investment on forestation, stand volume and forest land area data. In terms of demography, we need population data, okay, statistical data. And land use data, land carbon map, you know, GIS terminology, GeoTIFF, okay? Again, if you have high resolution data, you can specify the special variability. In other words, you can pick specific area to simulate the ecosystem services. Loss and damages, damage from landslide, area victims, unit of cost of recovery, monetary loss from flooding, damage from forest fire, like stocking volume, area, and asset. Okay, those are the data we used to run the model. And I will skip the main body of history of reforestation because I explained in detail in the previous two presentations. Okay, so same photo I showed you. And these figures shows changes in stocking volume total and stocking volume per hectare. After reforestation, total stocking volume increased quickly and mean stocking volume per hectare also increased sharply. It shows. Here, I like to emphasize again monetary investment after reforestation. Here, it reads, the monetary investment at national scale was provided from 70 through 80, while that investment at administrative district was provided. This investment consists of planting, protection, and erosion control. Okay? So even after planting, still you need to invest money to protect the forest, to manage forest. And then we explained how we convert monetary base from Korean won to US dollar and present value in 2010. I explained this already. So this figure shows monetary investments on reforestation. So during mid-1960s and early mid-1970s, we invest a lot of money for reforestation, but even after, still we invested money to protect the forest, to manage the forest. Not zero investments after reforestation. Still, you need to invest money to protect the forest, to manage the forest. That's also important. And here we listed the natural disaster history in the Republic of Korea. Landslide. So I showed this figure already. And this is the number of victims by landslide. So after reforestation, landslide victims decreased sharply. And then forest fire, but yeah, and then flooding, yeah, fluctuation, flooding, but victims by flooding decreasing sharply. And then modeling. Soil erosion. So this is a simulated soil erosion. So by year, okay? Soil erosion mass, precipitation, soil erosion volume. And water yield, using this equation, we calculate water yield and show the water yield by year and by precipitation. As I explained, water yield enhancement increased sharply right after reforestation for 20 years up until 1990s, and not much influence after that. So water enhancement effect appears in the beginning stage and early stage. Forest carbon model. This shows the carbon credit in money-wise increasing very sharply after reforestation. Okay, and then benefit and cost analysis. I explained these, and we need to set the reference level. So I explained the two reference levels, normal and conservative reference levels. So depending on reference levels, BC ratio changes, varies, okay? Okay, these are the reference levels, normal reference level, conservative reference level. So, yeah. And then shows the NPV with the two levels. Again, if we use normal reference disaster level, NPV would be positive. But when we use conservative reference level, NPV would be negative with only DRR. But if we include other benefits, 3 other benefits, even with the conservative reference level, NPV would be positive. And the break-even point occur earlier if we use normal reference disaster level, as you see here, okay? Yeah, these figures again shows BCR, benefit to cost ratio, when we use only DRR, but right hand side shows BCR with other ecosystem benefit together. So the scale is much higher, so more economically viable when you include other benefits. Actually, these figures shows that when we consider DRR and other benefit, if you invest $1, the benefit would be more than $7 or $8 after some years. That's this figure shows. In other words, investment on reforestation would be highly economically viable. Yeah. So now I like to emphasize lessons what we learned from our study. So first, it was found that benefit gradually increased with the time after intensive reforestation program. Again, I like to stress the importance of rapid and intensive reforestation program. Okay. Furthermore, the RR is highly related to saving human lives. You know, landslide, flooding, forest fires. It makes human lives dangerous. Then after reforestation, DRR is highly related to saving human lives. In this context, intensive forestation is recommended for reduction of disaster damage. You can save many human lives using reforestation. And then in this study, we did not include other benefits. For example, biodiversity, tourism, recreation, so on. There are many benefits after reforestation. If we include monetary benefits of biodiversity, tourism, recreation, the BC ratio would increase higher and higher. Here, again, considered with the annually occurring benefit throughout time passage, rapid and intensive forestation seems highly advantageous in the long term. So I stressed many times, if you do reforestation, invest money intensively, rapidly. So rapid and intensive reforestation would be highly advantageous in the long term. Are you following?
Yes.
Okay, no problem to understand?
Yes, all is clear.
Good. I am stressing the importance of reforestation several times using monetary values. So hopefully you understand what I'm saying, okay? And considering these benefits is highly beneficial to conduct reforestation programs in developing countries. I like to stress, again, reforestation will be highly beneficial to Tajikistan also. However, the lessons from the case of Republic of Korea is that not only planting trees cannot guarantee success of reforestation. Again, after reforestation, still you need to take care of forest. The major risk of forestation program were illegal logging, fuel wood demand, slash and burn cultivation. It happened in Korea. Similar would happen in Tajikistan, illegal logging, fuel wood gathering, and cultivation, shift cultivation, agriculture. I would say that it will be the same in Tajikistan. So developing countries are also expected to encounter those issues during the reforestation. Therefore, you need to have a strong policy to protect forest and manage forest after reforestation. A reforestation program should guarantee and continue to increasing income and welfare of villagers. So we should consider incomes and welfare of local people. Poverty often leads to deforestation-related activities such as illegal logging, slash and burn cultivation. So we have to pay attention to the income and welfare of local people. Okay, that's a good point also you should remember. Okay. And then I will move to the appendices. So here I describe the model input data. So how we manipulate data to run the model, disaster occurrence data, climate data, land cover map, so on. Okay. And also we use the topographic data and modify them to run the model. So here it says some resolution and also demographic data. And then we explain landslide model. Here, model description, it's max ENT model. This is the model name, max ENT model. It was developed for predicting species distribution, predicting appearance probability based on frequency data. Anyhow, you can use max ENT model for landslide estimation. And then data results. This is the result of a landslide risk. Okay. And especially it distributed like this, special distribution. And then we listed landslide risk assessments by region, by district, as we have special data. Special data, we assessed landslide by area, by province. And forest fire model, we used again max ENT model to simulate forest fire. So model description, data itself, result. So these are the result of forest fire risk by year and special distribution of forest fire. Okay, in some area, high risk. The other area, low risk. Okay, forest fire. And then forest fire risk assessment by district, by area. And soil erosion. Soil erosion, we use the SWOT model, soil and water assessment tool model. And how we manipulate the data, and we show the watershed and code number and calculation of soil erosion using MUSLE or USLE. Okay, these are the equations to simulate soil erosion, soil loss. And forest carbon, water yield, we used INVEST model, integrated valuation of ecosystem services and trade-off model. INVEST model was used for water yield. And some equations, data manipulation, and then forest carbon model. Again, this model was developed by myself with my students, and then some parameters to run the model, and changes in carbon stock by component, by age, by year. Okay, this is monetary price, monthly price of carbon credit by EU ETS, emission trading system from 2005 to 2016. And then bibliography, some references, and appendix, you can find actual data set. Yeah, forest area and stocking volume by year and annual newly forested area. You see here interesting statistics. In 1960s and 70s, very high annual newly forested area, but in 1980s and 90s, 2000, very small area. You see 400,000 hectares per year, but recently only 20,000 hectares. So intensive, rapid intensive for short period happened in Korea. Okay. And annual purchasing power parity exchange rate. Okay. And then monetary investment of forest activities using 2010 US dollar. Again, you see still investment even after reforestation to protect forest, to management forest. Still, you need to invest money even after reforestation. I emphasized that several times. And damage, monetary damage by landslide, number of victims by landslides, monetary damage by forest fire, monetary damage by flooding, number of victims by flooding, soil erosion area, tons per hectare volume, and forest water yield amount by area, by region, by province, estimated annual carbon credit, annual benefit of disaster risk reduction, water yield enhancement, soil erosion, total NPV by reforestation, total NPV using different reference level. I mentioned the two levels, BCR of reforestation. These are the all data we generated using our raw data. Okay. That's the that's the final presentation. Now we have approximately 20 minutes, something like that, for questions. Okay, still, are you following? Was it too much?
No, it was very comprehensive, a deep dive into the context, but we already have some of the questions, but
yes,
we
yes.
will. So are you
Yes.
ready for questions or should we?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, Vladimir.
Есть вопрос, включайте микрофон, задавайте, его переведут.
Какова частота стихийных бедствий, связанных с ликвидацией земель в тех территориях, по которым вы провели?
What is the frequency of the land degradation related DRRs in the key areas you have conducted the study?
I'm sorry.
Shall I repeat it once again?
Yes, please.
What is the frequency of land degradation related disaster risks in the key areas you have conducted your study?
So question is, what's the relationship between landslides and special distribution? Is that what you ask?
No, the question was about the frequency of
Frequency.
yes, land degradation related disasters in the key areas you have conducted the study.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, if you have more frequent landslide, you would have more damage in terms of human victims or assets, destruction of houses, roads, something like that. So if you have high frequency of landslide, the damage would be increasing highly. Clear relationship between frequency of degradation or landslide with the victims or monetary loss. Yes, I think so.
Я понял ваш вопрос, просто, может быть, я выразился не так, что
правильно вы выразились сейчас таки. На кластерной точке, отдельной точке имеется в виду, вот сколько точек для достоверных обучений. Это он брал разные ключевые, там, понимаете, есть ключевые территории. Он взял несколько ключевых территорий, идентифицировал и определил частота, значит, стихийных бедствий, связанные с уничтожением или деградацией. Вот частота, сколько участков, например, достоверность, это связано будет когда частота, это много ли, мало, вот, участков, 10 участков, 5 участков, 15 он взял для того, чтобы вывести достоверность, потому что вопрос о моделировании и о, значит, о введении этого закономерности взаимосвязанной деградации лесов с, значит, стихийным бедствием. Вот так это идет речь. Я понятно сказал?
Да, но вы ответ получили или еще раз мне повторить ваш вопрос?
Ну, это не мой вопрос. Вопрос это
ответ получили или еще раз повторить вопрос?
Вот. Ну, было бы хорошо, что вы разъяснили.
Okay,
вот
excuse me.
Сколько ключевых участков? Это 10, 5, 15 или сколько-то надо для достоверности. Потому что если его применить в условиях Таджикистана, он будет, в любом случае, надо эту частоту учитывать. На 10 участков или 15 участков. От чего зависит, например, достоверность? Количество участков. Мы один участок в Агуре, один другой в Пармияне, третий в один Висаре или где-то. И, собственно, мы посмотрим факторы и выводим какой-то модель. И достоверность получаем, что мы скажем, что зависит от погоды, зависит от мяса, зависит от горы шор, от массы других. Вот сколько ключевых участков для достоверного получения, значит, с такими бедствиями, связанными с деградацией лесов.
Или, может быть, другими словами сказать, методология расчета нанесения ущерба.
Да. Вот достоверность вот этого.
Чтобы было достоверно. Вот, например, в Бейруте по одним данным 3 миллиарда, а другие там расчеты делают 15 миллиардов. И к какому расчету верить? Точно так же вот и от эрозии почвы, от чрезвычайных ситуаций могут быть большие отклонения при расчетах. Поэтому вот какая вот методология, чтобы более точно, более объективно делать расчеты по нанесенным ущербам от чрезвычайных ситуаций.
Can I ask the question once again, please?
Yes, go ahead, please.
The question was about how often the disasters borne by land degradation occurred in the key areas where you have conducted your study. For example, how many key zones you have selected to conduct research in order to identify the reliability of data. Maybe you have selected 10 key zones or 15 key zones. Because why we are asking this question, for example, based on the accident in Beirut, one methodology showed that the damage was at the amount of 3 billion. But the other study and the other methodology estimated it at the amount of 15 billion. A question comes in mind, which methodology is the correct one to identify the damage? Therefore, how many cluster zones you have taken in your study, and what was the methodology for the identification of damage caused?
Good question. It really depends on resolution of the data. Our special boundary is a whole Korean peninsula, only South Korea. So our target area is whole South Korea, not specific area. And we use the different resolution data depending on disaster or benefit. As I showed the data list, we need specific data for specific disaster or benefit. Some data have high resolution data, but the other data may be low resolution. In general, we use the 1 kilometer resolution data, but in some cases, more high resolution data was also used. Again, depending on data quality, we can specify the specific area, whether it is a small area or a large area, something like that. So we used different resolution data for different disaster or benefit. In terms of a landslide, I think we used 1 kilometer resolution data to run the model. So the accuracy really depends on data quality. If you have high resolution data, you can have more specific location and more accurate result of a landslide. It's the same answer toward the previous question, but as far as I understand the question, it really depends on data quality. We use the different models, but depending on data quality, the result would be highly variable. So here I read the two questions related to the current question. To what extent did you use the aerospace imagery or remote sensing material for mapping work? In most cases, we used 1 kilometer resolution data, remote sensing data. So that's the answer for the second question. And the other one is, which are the requirement to the software for modeling the relationship of natural disasters and forest cover and climatic conditions? I listed models, SWOT model, INVEST model, Max ENT model, FVDC models. Except FVDC models, all those models are available from website. FVDC model developed by myself, I can provide the software if you need. So all software would be available basically if you want to run those models that we used in this study. And one more comment is related to the resolution and the special distribution of disaster or benefit. I worked with Professor Lee. In the previous slide, I introduced Professor Lee. He is a GIS and remote sensing person, specialist, expert. So we worked together. So specifically, I didn't run the actual GIS or remote sensing data by myself. Professor Lee did, but the answers I gave are my understanding in that aspect, okay?
Yes, that's very well noted. Let us check if there are more questions on the table.
Нет, уже все люди задали. Да. Да, тем или иным способом спросили каждый вопрос. И те, которые дополнительно я загрузил, вот на них ответил.
There are no other questions at this stage from our side. So we would like to thank you very much for being with us today, and thank you for your time to deliver these very important presentations that will feed into our work on developing our methodology for the research that we are going to conduct. If you allow us to inform you that our team of experts, the consultants, will start working on putting together the initial draft for the methodology and our approach. If you can let us share it with you once we have it, so that we can have your look and perspective on how we are approaching it. And also we will be sharing, we have already shared, and we'll be sharing your presentations and the policy briefs with our experts and colleagues. But in case if there will be any additional questions as we proceed with our work, we can get in touch with you, right, to have additional discussion or quick chats on how are we taking it further.
Okay, it was my great honor again to meet with you and to study with you. And I really hope to see more opportunities to meet with you and to work with you. Actually, Korea Forest Service is implementing one ODA project with forestry agents in Tajikistan. And I designed the project and I am involved in the project also. So I may come to Tajikistan several times during the forestry ODA project from this year through for 3 years actually. So I hope to see you sometime in Tajikistan. And again, the current presentation were based on our previous study with the UNDP SPC, also with my colleague, Professor Woo-Gyun Lee. Again, he is a GIS and remote sensing specialist. So if you have any question or comment toward that area, I advised you to contact me, and then I will talk with Professor Lee to get any good suggestion from Professor Lee. And I see there were very constructive and meaningful questions from your side, and I'm very happy to see such a meaningful questions from you, and I really hope to have a chance to work with you in coming years. It was my great honor.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we were also informed by our colleagues from the research institute that you have been closely engaged with the forestry agency on this project and have been supporting our country. We have one more question coming from the Professor Safarov. If you allow us, if we have another minute, he can answer the question.
Еще раз я благодарен за услышанное и за те презентации детальные, которые действительно это на основании большой сбора материалов, обработки, синтеза и анализа создан хороший фундамент научный, и она как бы является даже для учебы применения в различных аудиториях, можно его использовать. Это первое. В связи с этим у меня вопрос такой, вот здесь несколько раз обозначился вопрос дистанционной зондирования Земли, то есть использование материалов аэрокосмических съемок для, значит, изучения лесов, их деградации и так далее и тому подобное. В Южной Корее вы сами какие это спутниковые съемки южнокорейские, американские, или какие это вами использовали? Это первый у меня вопрос, потому что если придется в Таджикистане, мы когда-то тоже занимались этим вопросом дистанционного зондирования Земли и создана серия карт на этой основе. Это нам очень интересно. И насколько программное обеспечение для дешифрирования материалов аэрокосмических съемок с тем, чтобы можно было бы сегодня, значит, эту методику использовать. Спасибо большое. Что помощно?
Thank you very much. In Tajikistan, we have collected a huge amount of data through which is developed based on synthesis and analysis, and this is also a good research foundation which can also be used for training specialists. And also my second question is about the distance zoning. You have outlined that you use aerospace data for identification of the degraded lands and also disasters. Therefore, what kind of aerospatial data do you use in your research? Is it data taken by the South Korean special followers or the American equipment? And also in Tajikistan, it would be really interesting for us to know about this, because we also use this town zoning in development of maps. And therefore, we are really interested. And also another part of my question is about the software you use for decoding the spatial data.
I'm sorry, but I didn't catch the first and final question. Second question was about satellite imagery, right? So where
Yes.
did I get satellite imagery? Both from our own country and USA. 1960s and 70s, we do not have good imagery, satellite imagery, so we use the USA data. But recently, we have our own satellite imagery data. So we use both of them. That's the answer to the second question. And then I didn't catch the first and the final question, sorry. What were the first and final questions?
The first question, у вас первый пункт был вопрос, или вы просто отметили, что у вас очень хорошая база имеется, которую можно...
Я сказал, мы занимались этим вопросом. Да. Теперь он сам очень хорошую вещь сказал, насколько доступно те материалы в продолжении этого. Вот сейчас, насколько доступно именно корейские материалы аэрокосмических станционных занятий для Таджикистана, для, например, совместной работы. Нам оперативные съемки очень важны.
Для Кореи у них есть, а вот для Таджикистана есть?
Нет, для Таджикистана, ну, они все равно сателлайт, значит, летает, снимает, ну, насколько это доступно они, ну, для нас, в смысле, по цене, по возможности, по, ну, секрет сейчас вроде, это военный, это, думаю, что уже почти нету, в этом вопросе, да, это, и средства их обработки, корейцы очень развиты. Типа картофлекс, там еще другие, это, ну, серия вещей, оцифровки, ну, масса других, это специальная, значит, это, потому что я в свое время был, что большое космическое мониторинг, поэтому много знаю. В связи с этим у меня интерес. Я горю, я просто желаю увидеть их, как надо дешифрировать.
With regard to the first question, I just outlined that we also in the past conducted our own studies, as a result of which we were able to collect huge amount of data, which is available now, and we can use it for training specialists in this area at present. This is a very good research data. My question about the satellite images was that what software do you use for processing, for decoding these satellite images in order to apply them for your research purposes? To what it is really interesting for me in terms of its price, cost, and also to what extent it would be accessible for us so that we can also benefit from them in developing maps in Tajikistan.
So good question. Technically, I didn't do the satellite image analysis by myself. Again, if you tell me or send me message about a specific question about on satellite image process or modification, I will ask my colleague, Professor Lee, and then we'll respond. So please send me the specific question about satellite imagery itself. Then I will get answer from my colleague and respond to you. Is that okay for you? If it's a technical issue, again, I didn't analyze satellite image by myself, so I will ask my colleague and respond to you. Okay?
Yes, Professor, we will send that question in detail to you
Yes.
through an email, and then
Yes.
and there is another comment.
Another
please.
part of the question is about the price of these images. How much do they cost expensive?
I think we used images images without any cost. In Korea, those images are provided by the government agencies without any cost. So I don't think we used any cost to secure satellite imagery from Korean agency. So freely available data were used, I think, yeah. We can get the data free, yeah. If you want really high resolution data, we can ask them to generate high resolution data. In that case, we have to provide cost. But in general, regular satellite imagery, we can get by free. We don't pay any cost.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor. This is great. Yes, please allow us once again to thank you for being with us this whole day, and I know it's already very late in Korea, so we won't hold you any longer. But thank you, and as I said, we will start working on our methodology and the approach, and we will be sharing with you the initial draft once it's ready, and look for your support further.
Thank you, colleagues. Let me just say that it was actually very good that we were able to interact and talk today. And Professor Son, once again, thank you for such an excellent presentation as always, and taking the time and asking questions. And I would really like to thank the colleagues in Tajikistan side for your very constructive comments and questions. And I think it's very useful to know the type of issues that you will be dealing with. So yes, please, we look forward to receiving your written questions, and also the draft paper. And Professor Son has kindly, he has advised us that he will be looking at it and also sharing with Professor Lee for the satellite, GIS related, remote sensing related information. So we will surely follow up from our end, from the Seoul Policy Center. And as I mentioned, we have recorded this webinar, so we will share with you the link to the webinar. It should be ready by early to mid next week. I'm looking at Julie, so hopefully she can, yes. And thank you, Julie, for staying up so late in Canada. also. So, but I think we had a very productive session. And thank you, colleagues at UNDP Tajikistan also for organizing this session at such a short notice. So I think we all deserve a very good weekend. So from my end, I wanted to stop here. Should we say we close now? Or?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Sarwat. Yes, indeed, thank you very much also for accommodating us and for being available to still have this webinar and allow us to move forward with our project and this particular initiative. And yeah, so we can close, I think.
Thank you. Be safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, spasiba. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will wait for the recording. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.